Production's really having a moment in these pitches, and really sits, I think, at that intersection point of what's going on in commerce, what's going on in social and culture, what's going on from an AI perspective.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Ad Podcast. I'm here with Laura Davis, the Chief Client Officer of Publicis Production. Laura, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so you guys got a great couple of spaces at Cannes this year, influential on the beach in this beautiful hotel.
Yep. Yeah, with air conditioning, by the way, most important feature of a hotel this week.
Yeah, for sure. So, tell us a little bit about yourself and how's Cannes been for you so far this week?
Sure. So I'm Laura Davis. I've been the Chief Client Officer of Publicis Production in the U.S. for about a year now.
Nice.
Actually, took my job here last year.
Wow,
so,
congrats.
It's a little bit of an anniversary
I love it.
for me. And before that, I have been in the agency business for the last 15 years or so, and then before that I worked on the brand side.
Okay,
so
always on production or...
production and in sort of business strategy side as well.
Very
so
cool.
I worked at Visa in a more strategic agency management type of role.
Amazing.
But yeah, I've been in production for a long time now.
And bouncing around holdcos mainly?
I actually spent 7 years running a small independent.
Awesome.
So,
very fun. So you've seen both
agency
sides.
of the year winner, but very small. So yeah, absolutely have seen both sides. I've powdered people's nose. I've done all of the things in the production world.
I love it.
So,
I love it.
Yeah, it's been a good experience, good way to start in the business.
Well, Publicis has been on a bit of a run this year, a lot of pitches. It seems like when a lot of the other holding companies are in a bit of turmoil, a lot of deck chairs being rearranged, Publicis is winning pitches left and right. Be curious, have you got to take part in any of those pitches, been part of them?
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like I said it this morning on LinkedIn too, like production's really having a moment in these pitches, and really sits, I think, at that intersection point of what's going on in commerce, what's going on in social and culture, what's going on from an AI perspective. All of that is about what are we making?
Yeah, right.
And that making component of the pitches is becoming incredibly critical. So there really hasn't been a pitch that Publicis has done as an organization that hasn't
had content included.
Involved
Wow,
content or production at some
components.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And then I think getting integrated with Influential too, and some other Publicis was kind of late to acquiring creator economy or influencer companies, but then they made the biggest moves of any holdco. So you saw some of the other ones acquire these kind of smaller niche boutique shops earlier, but then Publicis making these massive investments in companies like Influential and Captivate. How is the creator economy and creator ecosystem and the idea that creators are media, their PR value, but they're most definitely production and content. So be curious how you're leveraging those assets these days.
First of all, incredible acquisition. So really, I think just game changing from the perspective of what we can offer to a client. And it allows us to offer everything from this level of influencer down to sort of what we do from a creator perspective, tabletop inside of our own studios.
Wow.
So I feel like we've got that end-to-end opportunity to really service every bit of what you want in a creator type of environment. And we're also doing a lot from a production standpoint that is creator-led, but maybe less traditional. So
Interesting.
The kinds of things that either are there to feed the LLM, more expert content, more authoritative content types of things, but also just budgets are really challenged. So in some cases, it's more about the way that the work is getting made being more important. That's not fair. More important's not fair, but being as important as what the work is.
Yeah, so
we're
the
really
production
thinking
elements and essentially how the sausage is made is as important as what the end product looks like.
In many ways, it is.
Does that come down to budgetary constraints, channel versioning? Is it a lot of different components that make that an important part of it, or what's the key timelines maybe? That's a big one, is being able to move at the speed of culture now. It's the days of finding a trend and then having a 6-week production schedule are kind of not.
If you've got 6 hours, I think you should feel lucky, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I think the short answer to that is yes. It's all of those things. For us, we try and look at it as timelines being not a constraint, but really being an opportunity. Like how do
Interesting.
we turn that into an opportunity to do something that's the right level of altitude and fidelity for the work?
Are you pitching clients in real time? Like, are you seeing something, then going to a client and saying, hey, we've identified this opportunity. We think it's awesome. Here's the idea. We need an answer like now, basically.
I mean, honestly, that's more so coming out of the social side of the business than it is out of the production side of the business. But we are the recipient of that brief.
So once that,
a lot of times we are the ones who are
the accounts team. Then you guys are doing the execution.
Exactly.
Got
Exactly.
it. Very cool. So, what's on your dance card for Cannes this week? Any thought leadership?
So I'm at LBB
cool.
tomorrow
Let's
on a panel about women in production.
Amazing.
So that'll be a really fun one.
Yep.
I think it'll be an interesting conversation. It's indie and holdco folks on the stage. So if you want to come and see that, it's going to be an amazing one.
On what some topics or ideas, or are you going to just let it rip?
I think my main point is I think there's lots of room in the ecosystem for all production. I think right now, like I said, production having a moment. I feel like I'm operating at the intersection of sort of the more systematic type of production, and what are we doing to make production more predictable, more of an ecosystem. And then at the same time, we're still making Super Bowl ads. We're still doing big, impactful, emotional, narrative-based work. So I think in that ecosystem of production, there's so much opportunity and room. Like I think we just as an environment of producers need to know that there's plenty of space for all of us. And so that'll be kind of part of my message, I think, on that one tomorrow.
I love it. And then from a Super Bowl perspective, it feels like Super Bowls aren't just the ad anymore. They're like campaignable moments. The earn story is probably just as important. The activations that you're doing around the Super Bowl, having an influencer strategy and a bunch of, like, maybe if you have your hero asset that's on TV and is the star of the show, so to speak, you've got 100 other assets or 20 other assets living in and around it, kind of teasing it, different versions that are dropping up to the long form version.
One of the things that I find most exciting and interesting right now around big events like that is actually what are we doing in the in real life world? What are the activation pieces? What are the in real life executions that we're able to do? And then I also am really fascinated by reactive work. So what are we doing that's reacting to what's going on in the game? What are we doing that's reacting to what's going on around the game? The new version of the
Oreo dunk in the dark moment.
Yep. I mean, that was, it's still
kind
good.
Of the OG, right?
It's still good.
It's the first example of kind of real-time responsive marketing, the newsroom strategy, if you will.
Yeah, so I love that strategy, and increasingly I feel like production has a big role in experiential things too. So we're really thinking about like what is the broader fan experience around, because for everyone who's there, obviously there's a million people who aren't in that room at that time. So, big part of what we're doing as well.
I love it. So talk a little bit about experiential and how you work with maybe some of the other groups at Publicis, or if you have an agency coalition going into a campaign like that. Are you designing an immersive experience, an immersive world, not just for how consumers will interact with it as coming through and being part of the activation, but actually thinking of it as a set, essentially, a place where it's got to look good on camera as well?
It's an interesting question because we're at the end of that experience, but we're also increasingly needing to be in the beginning, right? Because it's really a conversation about what's possible. It's really a conversation about how are we going to make something work? And those conversations, this isn't just true for experiential, this is true across the board. Increasingly, production is putting itself in those conversations much earlier because the aperture on what's possible has expanded so much. Like when I think about, not to mention AI, because
I was going
to try and get out of Cannes without mentioning it, but
that's my game too. Is wait as long as possible.
Wait as long as possible before you go there, but you're going to have to.
It's unavoidable. So let's go there.
But basically, when I think about it, I think of it as a tool that really opens the aperture on possibilities, and I really see it that way in a production environment. What's real and what's sort of manufactured, and how are we doing that? And I think that's true, when I'm thinking about experiential, I think in the same ways, like what are the things that we need to have that are real and practical in here, and then what are the pieces of this that
we
are
can do in the studio or in post-production,
the
stuff like that.
post experience, etc. Obviously, you have to build for the fans' experience, who's experiencing it in real life.
Right, they're the primary concern. Even though the backdrop, many more people might see the video or the assets that come out of that, but you want to make sure that
you can't fake that reaction.
You got to design for IRL for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's talk a little bit more about AI. What are some of the innovations that you're seeing either here at Cannes or just your day-to-day? You know, it seems like every 6 months things are totally changed. How are you guys using AI at the bleeding edge of what's possible in the production world?
Well, there's a few things going on for us, and I think one of the most important, you know, everybody's saying the same thing, but it's absolutely no less true because of it. It's really affecting our workflows. Like, how are we, I mean, super basic things like, do you need to make a call sheet, or can your agent make a call sheet for you? Like, very basic tasks are not things that producers need to be thinking about anymore.
Yeah, just kind of the stuff that would normally take up busy work time.
Yeah, and even if it's just 3 hours.
Right.
You know,
totally.
Who's making the pre-pro book? How long does that take?
Yeah.
A lot of that is getting, you know, innovated and automated. And it really, to me, again, frees up people's time to be thinking about the more strategic questions. So
what's going to show up on the camera, essentially.
Exactly. How are we doing that? How can we get more? How can we capture more? I wouldn't call that bleeding edge. I call that practical. I think it's
practical. Well, I think that's actually, I think, the best part of how the conversation has shifted around AI from last year's Cannes to this year. I feel like last year was still, you know, maybe halfway out of like
AI is magic.
CES being like everything is AI, all consumer. This isn't the Consumer Electronics Show anymore. It's the AI show. Everybody was talking about AI, but people weren't being super specific and practical. And I think now that everybody's in these tools trying to figure out how they work and accelerate their day job and help them become a superpower and a time saver. Like one just interesting example for me, I was trying to set up an interview with a C-level at Condé Nast for Cannes this week. And, you know, to some degree, you know, I'm a vetted PR person by Cannes, but like some comms people are a little more aggressive than others. And she's like, you know, how big is your following? You know, this, that, all this stuff. I was like, great.
What's in it for her?
I'll jump through the hoops, no problem. Like I'll be a good sport. And then like the final question was like, who else are you interviewing at Cannes? I'm like, you want my entire production list? And I was thinking about it. I was thinking about how absurd the ask was at first. I was like, you know what? I could do this in 3 seconds. I went to Gemini. I said, Gemini, or the prompt, I said, who am I interviewing at Cannes this week? And it basically gave me an entire list of everybody. And I said, all right, reorganize it, name, title, company, the whole thing. And I sent it to her. I was like, wait a minute, I could actually use this. Then I said, make an infographic of everybody that I'm interviewing this week. That I put it on LinkedIn, tagged everybody. I tagged you in there too. Tagged everybody who I was interviewing and had like kind of like a, here's what's happening on the ad podcast at Cannes this week. It's one of my most engaged posts that I've did all year.
That's awesome. That's
wild.
Awesome. And I'm sure my being here is what got you that interview. So
totally.
I'm positive that was the one that pushed it over the edge.
They call it social proof, right? It's like they want to make sure they're 100%. in a good company.
It's a basic old behavioral science.
Yeah, totally. But that task would be something that I would have never even been capable of. I would have had to hire out a designer to do that, and I did it in maybe 5 minutes.
I know, it's amazing. Yeah. We are writing agents ourselves at in the Publicis environment that are helpful, that are like practical, that are all the things, and it's been a great learning for me, and somebody who maybe isn't the obvious adopter of AI, but I'm definitely there.
Yeah, I definitely went kicking and screaming, but it's pretty exciting.
I'm loving it now, and I think like from a more truly bleeding edge perspective, in the work, so much of what we're doing now, we look at that spectrum of like what needs to be practical, what has a mixed, a more hybrid capability, and what are we doing straight in AI, and it's a consideration in everything that we're making and shooting, and it's all in service of how are we putting the best work on the screen. Yeah,
like a lot of people were afraid, like, oh, these are going to put production people out of work, but what I find is it's just letting people that have smaller budgets do more. It's not like there's less work to do. It's actually we're just doing better work.
Bigger creative ambitions are possible with what we have. The tools that we have really allow that expansive creative opportunity. So all in service of the work.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, if folks want to follow along with your thought leadership or learn more about your division inside of Publicis, where do you want to send folks to stay in touch and connect?
I guess LinkedIn.
That's a good spot. All right.
Yep.
We'll link to it in
Would
the show
love
notes.
to hear from you.
Amazing. Thanks for
All
coming
right.
on, spending a
Thank
little bit of
you.
time with
Good
us.
to meet you.
Cheers, you too.
On YouTube, finding the right audience to build a media plan requires hours of research. And optimizing campaigns is time-consuming and a bit of a guessing game. That's why we built technology to do it for you. Strike Social.